Hello everyone. Wow, it's really cold here. Actually, I quick want to double check what cold it is because I still have to wear gloves. And I know I'm actually not supposed to be out here, but I have a job to do as social media. It's 26 degrees. Wow, I thought it was a little warmer than that. Okay, so no moonlight, but there's going to be tons of ambient light as far as the city. I'm in a little park in downtown or close to downtown Waukesha. So hello guys and welcome to the Airsoft Headquarters. If you are absolutely new to the channel here, we are a small airsoft store in Waukesha, Wisconsin. We are the biggest in the state and we are the biggest in surrounding states as well. Go check us out on Facebook, Instagram. Obviously you found us on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe please. And of course you are welcome to come into our headquarters whenever we are open, of course. I do get guys from Minnesota, Iowa, even Illinois, Wisconsin guys, of course. You guys are all welcome. We have professional technicians there as well as professional staff members that can answer almost any of your questions and be able to help you out in every sort of way possible. So don't be afraid to stop by. Tonight is a very special, yeah, I said tonight. Normally I do these on the mornings when I have way less energy, but guys, it is nighttime actually, believe it or not. So tonight I am going to be doing a review, let me turn this off, of the Sionyx Aurora Sport. Now if you guys are not familiar with Sionyx, you absolutely should be. They have been putting out a lot of content within Facebook, Instagram, and they're absolutely blowing up on YouTube as well. Just type in Sionyx Aurora and search, and there are so many people that already have these cameras that are doing different reviews and gameplay and content with these cameras, and they're absolutely amazing given the condition that they are in. And I'm going to explain that all to you. So guys, welcome. Yeah, it's dark. I absolutely need a light in order to read my script here. So if you're not familiar with the Sionyx Auroras, these actually have been on the market for the last couple of years. And so, like I said before, there are so many different posts and different types of content that are available on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, in order to actually get an idea as to what these guys are putting out, including this one. I am actually shooting this on my Sport that I purchased myself. So that's why I don't have it here in my hands in order to show you exactly what it is. I will get some footage from the studio and I will actually show you the externals of what it looks like, or I'll just pop it up. Find a generic Google image, and there you go. If I were to describe these cameras in the most basic of terms, these are going to be the best type of night vision tool that you can get currently on the market. Now, I say market kind of loosely because you can get military refurbished, and of course you can get the modern warfare type of night vision cameras, but we're not going to be comparing this to those types of cameras. To kind of refresh your memory, the Sionyx Auroras are coming in 3 different models. There's the Aurora Sport, which I currently have on here, and this is the most basic as far as a night vision camera. These are actually going to be retailing for $400, soon to be jumping up to $600. And these are kind of the basic systems that Sionyx has for their market. They have 2 other models. The 2 other models are called the Classic and the Pro. I should have known that. I shouldn't have needed to look at my script in order to read that. All of the cameras are going to be coming equipped with more and better features based on the pricing tier. Now this is the most basic one. This is the cheapest one since it was coming out of my pocket. I'm a cheapo. I get it. The Aurora Sport is the cheapest, currently at $400, soon to go to up to $600 for the most basic, but still comes with a handful of features. It comes with video option, photo option, loop option, which is somewhat true, playback option, Wi-Fi, focal adjustment, scene setting, zoom gain, an electric viewfinder, which with a heads-up display. All the cameras have these basic features, and the next tier of the camera, the Aurora Classic, is going to have a compass and a GPS system built into the heads-up display, which is what you would be looking at through the viewfinder. The GPS and the compass can be calibrated and synced with other classic cameras, so you can know exactly where your buddies are based purely on that heads-up display. I mean, you can turn and there's going to be a little marker system that says, hey, Bradley is over there, or whoever. And that camera currently is $600, soon to jump up to $800. And the next tier up is going to be the Aurora Pro, which uses double the image processing power as the previous models. And I think, I haven't been able to find this anywhere, but I think it comes with the compass and GPS system that the Classic uses. The Pro is currently going for $1,000. It already saw that price increase. It was at $800 for the pre-order. It's still on pre-order, but that pre-order jumped up to $1,000 because, honestly, these are some awesome cameras. So, if you can, before the 31st of this month, if you really are considering picking one of these cameras up, go do it. As far as me currently understanding night vision, the military analog or the Sionyx, they are going to operate similarly to a standard camera. And by that I mean that light is constantly, to explain light is constantly around us. You know, there are different types of wavelengths and different types of light itself that are constantly around us. And some of that light we can't see, such as the infrared spectrum, because it's a different type of wavelength and frequency than what our human eyes, our naked eyeballs can see. Especially in a city environment like I am right now, there are tons of ambient light that can be picked up by a photon enhancing system. As the light particles reflect off of a surface, the image is processed through filters to enhance the picture. Analog or military spec of tubes are going to create an image that is presented in a green or white colored image, and that is the type of filters that are used. That's really all that is to it. And because it's a tube, it's going to have a circular base of image. Versus the Sionyx, this one currently, which is taking pictures at a max speed of 60 frames per second. So it is purely a camera-based system, which is pretty fast, at least compared to the human eye as well. But when shaking your head, the image is going to blur because of the filters the image has to go through. Because how a camera works is, an image is going to be created on an LCD screen. That image is then getting processed through a color system, and it then goes to the first filter to be turned into 1s and 2s based code, and that then is going to go into another type of filter that takes those 1s and 0s code, and it spits it back out into a different type of color-based system, you know, based on the filtering from the previous one, and then spits it back onto another LCD screen that is in the viewfinder, and that is what we are then viewing. So taking, you know, a regular black background, and then through the course of 60 frames per second, it creates this, you know, a somewhat colored and a clear with a depth of field image that can be viewed by you in the darkness. I think that's really cool. I think that's absolutely amazing that cameras as low as this are able to do that. Time for a drink. I shouldn't have put ice in here. So while testing at 60 frames per second, as far as that blur like I was describing before, because there is going to be a slight time delay as far as if you are moving back and forth, at 60 frames per second, a picture is going to get taken here, but it's going to get processed when you're looking here. And vice versa. Picture taken here, you view it while you're in motion here. So while you're looking side to side. So that's kind of like that blur effect that if you do watch any sort of reviews, that is the reason why it's behind doing that, and I don't think actual reviewers are explaining that properly. But as far as that blur system, I don't think it's a fatal issue as far as to the operation of the camera or to the operation of you looking through the camera. You know, this is a dark environment. You know, even guys that are using the military spec of night vision, let me turn this off while I'm ranting. For the guys that are using these military grade stuff, I actually had a couple look through this, and they were absolutely blown away. They were loving it. But for the military grade stuff, because of that analog system, it doesn't have to go through as many filters and have as much of a delay in the imagery as far as movement, but there still is a pretty big blur, because with the analog system, it's still reflecting light into the tube, and then that itself is going through multiple filters, and it's being enhanced, and the photons are being multiplied, and it's becoming a crisper image as it gets onto the viewing screen that you're looking through for the analog system. And then that does create a blur, especially if you're moving back and forth. So I know, keep that in mind, that even if you're using the analog stuff, if you want to spend the money and you're dedicated to getting that sort of system, there is still going to be a blur effect as well. It's not going to be nearly as obvious as the Sionyx, but it is still going to be there, especially when you're moving this quickly, transitioning from left to right, right to left, left to right, right to left, in that sort of manner. So just to be clear about that. At the front of the camera, there is going to be a massive lens that is very deep, and it has a wide style of aperture to allow more light to come in these darker environments. There is a turn dial to change the focal point on the very front, to change it from infinite to 0.3 meters, and I think that's measured in meters. I don't know for certain, but I'm going to show you that effect with this next clip. You can also select between day scene, twilight scene, and night scene. Currently I'm shooting on night scene. You can still use this camera in the day, 100%, and you can use it at night when the sun has just set, but there's still all that ambient light from the sun in the horizon, where it's dark enough to where regular cameras will struggle with that balance, but it's not really nighttime that you can pull out your analog tubes. And so that's another point where this camera really absolutely takes, takes that point home. Moving to the side of the camera, there is going to be a large dial to select the different type of shot mode. You can go into your photo mode, which you can select your shutter speed, burst speed, HDR, I think that's high definition resolution, a self-timer, a panorama, and a time-lapse system. If you wanted to do all of that, like set this up with an external battery pack out on some sort of hunting trail, where prey or stuff are going to be walking along somewhere in the woods. Put this up somewhere in there, tied to a tree, external battery pack, and it's going to do a time-lapse effect throughout the night. Now, this is going to be pretty expensive as far as a trail camera, but I think it's going to create a clearer image for exactly what type of prey you would be looking at. You can select video mode, which I am using right now, and I can select the EIS, which I think stands for Electric Image Stabilizer. You can select the frame rate, the resolution, and the high definition resolution as well. I don't know if that's a plane or a helicopter right there. Sounds like a plane. There's also a loop effect, which it says it's on here, but I don't think it actually works as far as this specific camera. And I'm sorry if my headlamp restricts any sort of movement that I'm doing out here, especially when I have it set up like this with the light directly facing the camera. I think that's going to blur me out, but I really hope it doesn't. And you have a Wi-Fi setting selection, or Wi-Fi / setting. So you can absolutely pull out your phone and you can get the Sionyx app system in order to, preview the image before you hit record and it starts recording. I personally don't do that. App systems such as that have a really bad history of not working with Apple devices. And I don't know of anyone that has an Android in order for me to actually test that on. There is going to be a electric viewfinder which shows info such as shooting mode, the record length, or how long you can record, the time, the exposure value, frames per second, pixel size, Wi-Fi connection, SD card, the battery life. The Classic will also show you the compass and GPS. That I know for certain. I don't know if the Pro is able to do that. It is kind of 50-50 if it can or cannot do that. Like I said before, it is in a pre-order. Nothing is confirmed as of right now. So the overall weight of the camera is 9.6 ounces, which is actually lighter than the average 20-ounce water bottle, which roughly weighs about 1 ounce, 6 ounces. Honestly, I was pretty surprised by that. I mean, I got a water bottle from home, and I was drinking that in order to stay hydrated today, and I was playing with the Sionyx while I was sitting at my desk, and I'm going between the two, drinking some water, holding the Sionyx in my hand, looking at it, and in the back of my head, I'm like, wow, is a Sionyx actually lighter than a water bottle? So yeah, I actually went to our pack and ship table, and I actually weighed the two. That's why I have these specific weight measurements. And it's crazy that the Sionyx is actually almost half as light as a water bottle. So as far as mounting options go, mounting this type of camera is actually going to be stupid easy because of how light it is. You actually don't need to do any sort of counterweight pouch on the back of a helmet, or do you need to be conscious of the weight if you were to use it as a scope, night vision scope, because of how light it is. Like, it's absolutely mind-blowing how many features in how this camera is used in such a light package. Like, this is revolutionary as far as technology, and I love it. I'm kind of a camera geek, if you can't tell. Oh my god, it's so cold. The blacktop is ice. God. And people will actually use this camera, and they do have them in their tool system as a primary camera for them to do their content related videos. So the biggest one, I think, as far as a decent example, is going to be Brain Exploder. Now, he weapon mounted this while using a type of dual mount, true military style night vision, a dual tube, and he did play a airsoft game with it. And I think that was a very clear example as to how these could be used, a clear example as far as comparison between the analog and a digital system, and was able to show pros and cons, how to use them. Overall, a great educational video, and I actually really do like Brain Exploder's content. Thumbs up to him. Another great example, I think, is going to be the T-Rex Arms review video. Now, he actually put out, or the channel, I should say, put out 2 videos about the Sionyx Aurora. They talk specifically about the Sionyx, and then they compared the Sionyx between the Sony A700 II, if I remember correctly, or A7 or A7 III, and the analog style. An amazing video talking in detail about the workings of both the analog system as the tube, how it filters the photons, as well as the digital system and how it relays its digital imagery. So go check out those videos as well. I'm currently at such a low subscriber count that I can't actually put their channels up into the card here, the little system that's like, go check out whatever. I don't have enough subscribers in order to do that, so they'll actually be down below in the scroll a little bit farther down, and then you'll be able to get to their videos. Another couple examples, just to have a dynamic as far as the style of content, as well as the different people that are on there, is going to be Dayton from House Gamers, another airsofter. He showcased it in one of his videos, as well as the Tyrant King's Airsoft. They both did very short clips that I thought looked really, really cool, and really showcased the camera in different types of elements, but showed it in like the best light possible. Both Dayton from House Gamers and Tyrant King's Airsoft. Sorry, I'm not used to them. But both the most previous ones, Dayton, House Gamers, and Tyrant Kings, only did one video. Will really Brain Exploder only did one video, but his, I think, was a little bit more in-depth. Now, after going through all of that, as far as an overview of the camera, I know I kind of just skimmed over general details. I know there's many more videos that are going to be more in-depth as far as reviews, how it works, how it looks, how it performs, stuff like that. And currently, with the current conditions, with Corona-19, I'm not able to go out and do airsoft gameplay. In fact, I don't know the next time I'm going to be able to do an airsoft event, period. I don't even know when I'm going to be able to do an airsoft event that has a night op. So, you're going to have to settle with me for now. But now comes to the part that is going to be the hardest part for me, and that's going to be the different flaws and the downsides to the camera. Since this camera is something that I personally bought, I can be pretty critical about it. You know, compared to companies that are getting different types of products for free and kind of just going over them and reading maybe off of a script or maybe showcasing the best parts about them, I absolutely can say that these different parts of this camera are absolutely shit. But actually, what I say are the downsides of the camera may actually surprise you. So, worst case number one is its low battery life. And actually, this plays in part because I fully charged this about an hour ago, and because of the cold temperatures, it actually drained the battery within 15 minutes of having it out in the cold. So from what's supposed to be a 2-hour lifespan in ideal conditions, it actually drained that to 15 minutes. I mean, it is 26 degrees. I think this is going to be a very good example as far as a test run to see how the camera performs in these colder temperatures. I actually just plugged it into an external battery pack, so I really hope my battery pack lasts pretty long as well. Some people are going to say that 2 hours of record time are not going to be long enough. However, that's going to tie into the next point about battery life, is that this camera specifically and the Classic can only handle up to 32 gigabytes as far as a micro SD card, which I think is complete bullshit, because I spend way more on 125 and 250 gigabyte micro SD cards that, man, this camera should handle at least 120. It should absolutely handle a 120, but for some reason it doesn't. It can only handle a 32. So that means about 3.5 hours of record time off of a 32 gigabyte, which honestly is a good amount. But it should handle a 120 gigabyte. Why does it not handle a 120? Now the Pro can handle up to a 256 gigabyte micro SD, but that's currently at $1,000. And for me specifically, you know, I spend a good amount of time with cameras, taking pictures and taking videos. As you guys know, as a social media coordinator, I absolutely want to be able to have no worries and no issues as far as how many pictures I'm taking, how many videos I'm taking, and trying to worry, do I need to have a backup micro SD card on me, on top of having to worry about, do I need an extra external battery pack on me in order to last the SD card or the game that I'm running for that night. So those are the two biggest flaws as far as the sport camera goes. Number 3, because number 2 was the gigabytes, number 3 was the lens is not shatter resistant, which I can completely understand, okay? With a camera, the lens needs to be completely crystal clear in order to get a clear image. And that is absolutely critical when it comes to these night vision type of environments that it needs to operate in. You need to have a clear picture, otherwise it's going to have all this extra noise. I'm sure with this image right now, it's going to have a lot of extra noise because I don't have any sort of extra ambient infrared light beaming on me directly to create a clear crystal image. However, without the currently thin lens, that image right now would have an extra amount of noise. It would be even blurrier. It'd be much harder to see. So when you add any sort of extra material to the lens, it's harder for light to go through it, and it's harder to have a clear image. So I can understand where they're going through. It's a very hard thing to balance clarity versus resilience as far as camera lenses. So while it is a little annoying that I would have to get an extra external lens to put over it, I know I'm not going to get nearly as clear of an image because of that extra material in order to make sure a BB doesn't shatter it out. And I absolutely do not want a BB to shatter this lens because I don't want to send it in for warranty because they're probably not going to warranty it. Actually, I don't know that, but I'd rather not test it out. Number 4, and this really isn't an issue, but it's something that I need to make absolutely clear to people, is that the video recording format is going to be a square type of image. If you look specifically at Brain Exploder's video comparing the Sionyx, or not really comparing, but playing with the Sionyx and with his analog style night vision, he has it in a circle format. And the reason for that is it's much easier for him to create a video with one type of format, and he is restricted to just a circle because he can't make a square out of a circle, but he can take a larger square from the Sionyx and make it a circle for his type of content. So that's why if you watch his video specifically, it's in a circle format. He's restricted to the tube, which actually he needs to have the dual mount system in order to put a GoPro over the eye hole of one tube, and then he looks through another, and then there's the Sionyx. So kind of a little silly that you're not able to, or not really silly, but it's absolutely amazing that the Sionyx is able to record all of this versus the analogs, you can't. So if you have a monocular lens, you can't get the image that you want. You aren't able to record anything because you are looking through that tube. You don't have any sort of extra space to put a camera there. So if you want to create night vision content, you need to have dual tubes and then offset it so a camera is recording through one tube and then you are looking through the other tube. So my final thoughts on the Sionyx Aurora. I think that it is absolutely an accessory to your current kit. I don't think it's necessarily a necessity. Not everyone needs a night vision camera, okay, because not everyone is doing night vision operations for airsoft. But for myself, who is not doing airsoft always, I'm certainly very rarely going to have a night operation for airsoft. I'm using this camera just for the cool effect of walking around at night, going on hikes, going on walks, biking, maybe doing geocaching, and I can use the night vision in order to look through the tube, but look through the camera in order to see what I'm doing with absolute clarity. I don't need this extra flashlight. I could always use this camera in order to do the night stuff that I really want to do. As well as the fact that, honestly, it's just really freaking cool, alright? So that is my 2 cents as of right now. Guys, if you want to pick one of these cameras up, and you absolutely should, if you are heavily considering it, get it while it's at the lowest price possible before the 31st of this month of March. January, February, March. Yep, March. Go to Sionyx.com and pick one of these up for $400 for the Sport, $600 for the Classic, and then $1,000 for the Pro. But in a couple minutes, I'm actually going to do a couple more tests as far as infrared lasers, how far it can see, how clearly it can see, and stuff like that while I'm currently in the park. So, without further ado, let's go do that. It's 26 degrees. This is way colder than I thought it was going to be. It's 26 degrees. Wow. There's enough ambient light where I can see what I'm doing. But for this test, I'm going to grab my infrared laser, and we're going to check it out on the camera there and see what it looks like. Oh, something I absolutely forgot to mention is because this camera is digital, if I were to shine a actual visible laser or visible light into the lens directly, nothing would happen. The processor or the processing system would automatically auto-gate and swap over to daytime recording versus a military style of analog tube. If you were to use the same type of flashlight, shine it into the tube while it's in use, the internal filters would then burn out. So, again, this is another point that I absolutely forgot. For some reason, I forgot to put it into the original video, so the continuation of this is kind of making another point of why this one is better compared to analog. As well as the price point, $400 versus, you know, $1,600, $1,500, maybe $1,400 at the lowest for a somewhat decent, used, refurbished analog, the military style for night vision. So keep that in mind as well. Man, I am getting cold again. Embarrassingly enough, I could not find the original Allen key, nor could I find any of our Allen keys to fit the tool in order to get this laser off of this rail system. So I'm just grabbing the entire rail system and using it for this test, just so you guys know.
Here we go. Laser's on. And I am lasing the trees right now. Going onto the floor or onto the ground there. Doing a half 8. Well, actually I'm doing an 8. I'm doing a shitty job of it. Gonna laze over by those industrial areas over there. There's the coals that close down. And then going back over to the other side there. There's a Target and a Chili's over in that direction. So fun fact, I can't see anything right there. And a car is actually pulling past, so we can see all those headlights compared to infrared laser. You know, just for some cool guy stuff. Alright, so pulling up at the red light there. Infrared laser. Oh, it's actually reflecting off of something. How? Is it? No. Something else is happening. That's not a reflection. You can see my infrared laser. Well, you guys can. In the real world, I cannot. I'm trying to see if I can reflect it back. Nope. Oh, there is a little reflection. There we go. So infrared light actually can reflect backwards. Guy walking right there. Oh, something reflected it back. Back to the tree and back to our regular environment. So infrared lasers do work.
I currently do not have an infrared flashlight in order to test out. So this laser is $70, and I think it will be pretty beneficial in the future. Hopefully I get to use it some point in a game, but back to testing purposes. Back to testing. So next test, I'm sure you guys have already seen, but the Lancer Tactical, the UK Arms, the T-Light personal indicator that is in blue, green, red, purple, orange, or white. I have it in a bright blue, which I'm going to walk all the way back for you guys to see, and then I'm going to put it on blink mode so we can see what that looks like as well. I really wish I had an AR flash, just like MS-2000 that were used during Black Hawk Down, during that area, and I think actually is currently in use as well today. But I wish I had something similar to that, because I could test those out. But I don't, so I just have this. So we're going to see just how bright this is. So I'm going to put it on just standard on, and again, it's blue. So I'm going to walk it out and see
I think I'm going to stop at the tree line, actually, because I think you guys are going to be able to see it way out there. Here we go. Yeah, that blinky blue dot right there, I actually cannot see it with my naked eyeballs, but the fact that I can see it with infrared, or not infrared, but with this light enhancer system is awesome. Especially on a completely crystal clear night like tonight. You know, you can see stars in the background up here. How amazing is that? There is way more ambient light compared to when I brought this to the park a couple days ago when it was heavily overcast. I mean, the difference is just amazing. Way better as far as image clarity, but a lot more noise. If I had an infrared flashlight, I probably could be able to spot into the dark areas of the woods, you know, right along here. And the coals over there, it's not even the parking lot, but it's just that the intersection in front of the coals is absolutely just overlit with shit. So I'm gonna run back and grab my helmet. Of course, we can see all of the light pollution. It's actually overcast, and we can see just all of the light bleeding from buildings and stuff like that. And we can see the reflection of light off the water. We can see where the path is as far as riverway, stuff like that. And we can see, almost see, individual leaves and stalks and stuff like that for these guys.